Okay, this video is going to be a really quick video on semantic shift. I know it's been a while since I've made some of these videos, but I try to do some whenever I have free time and stuff like that. And sometimes I also, I also try to think of ideas sometimes. And sometimes ideas just run in my mind. Sometimes I get them through conversation with other people. It's just whatever. Anyway, semantic shift, and I put an asterisk there because it could probably be included with false cognates, I guess, false cognates. But regardless, this isn't really like a learning video. It's more just like an FYI kind of video. And here's my really shitty camera, my little shitty phone camera that can't even focus. But this is what you're gonna get for free whatever, right? Free information. Anyway, so this is mainly going to focus on two languages that have heavily influenced the Cebuano language. One of them being English, the other one being Spanish. Now, I couldn't really think of many English examples, but because English is a relatively new language to the Philippines, compared to Spanish, which, Spanish has been the language there for like over 300 years, where English is just new. It's almost, I guess, like, it's give or take in the last century, right? So the first example I have, and semantic shift is basically words that get borrowed into one language that change meaning, all right? That's what a semantic shift is, which is semantics, right? And then it shifted. The meaning shifted. Sometimes languages will just have this on their own, and sometimes it just happens to be, I don't know, naturally. Like, for example, English, words are always changing. For example, the word gay, for example, it used to mean, and I guess it still means happy and joyful and joyous, but most of the times it has a meaning of just homosexual or like a guy that, yeah, just homosexuals or gay people like that. Anyway, this is an explanation of English into Cebuano. So the first word I have is jeep, right? Jeep. And in jeep, we have the meaning of like a jeepney in English, right? Which is a kind of a ride. It's a vehicle, a public form of transportation, a vehicle that you can use to get around. And if you've been to the Philippines, you've seen pictures of it, you know what it is. However, for an English speaker, a jeep or a jeep in English, right? The jeep is something different. It's like a four-wheel vehicle, four-wheel drive vehicle. I've actually driven jeeps before, and I love them. The English jeeps, the English kind of jeeps, not the Cebuano kind jeeps, but the jeepney or the jeeps is in Cebuano is a meaning of a form of public transportation that you can get around cheaply. It's kind of like a little bus that has many stops. And it has history because of some World War, I don't know what it was, some World War II stuff that military left behind a lot of these vehicles that they gave to the Filipinos, and they're like, hey, we'll just use this. So, but that's, yeah, American contact and all of that stuff, right? And it changed the culture drastically. The next word is apir, right? Now, this word, if you kind of translate this in English, right? Apir. What does it sound like in English? Apir. Apir. It sounds like appear, like something will appear or will reveal itself, but actually it means up here, right? Up here. Up above here. It's what people say when they want to high five people, right? Up here, down low, up here. So it's a high five kind of a deal, right? And that apira means, it's actually a verb now in Cebuano. It got borrowed into Cebuano as a verb. So the semantic shift changes, right? Instead of saying high five, because in English we say up here or high five, right? But in Cebuano, that high five got borrowed into the language as a verb, and the verb is called apir, which means high five. So someone can say to a little kid or your buddy or pal or whoever, you can say apir daw apir, which means give me a high five, right? So up, it came from up here. The last English example, this was funny because I found this one out through my mom when she was talking to me. She mentioned the use of crayons, and this one, this I thought this was a really funny one because in Cebuano they use the word. I mean, the word crayon also exists, crayon, right? Crayon, but the company or the company name is what they use is what was borrowed to have the meaning for a crayon. So Crayola. Crayola is the company that makes crayons. But because Crayola was sold in the Philippines as well back then, back in the day, people started using the company name Crayola or Crayola, right, as the term for the crayon. So a crayon is called a Crayola. And that to me was really funny. It actually happens commonly because of American capitalism. Um, a lot of these companies, American companies, holy capitalism that goes into the Philippines and invades the Philippines and introduces all this whole capitalistic system, right? All these monopolies start going into the Philippines, especially American monopolies or foreign monopolies, right? And their companies. And a lot of Filipinos will use that company name for the product that they sell, for whatever product it is. So, and Crayola is just a classic example of it, right? But there's more. I'm pretty sure there are more examples of this that had a semantic shift into the language. So that's just an FYI, right? The perks of capitalism. Hoo-yah. Anyway, moving on to the Spanish side. There's a lot more in Spanish I can give because of, again, extensive language contact over centuries. The first one is delicado. Delicado. Now, in Spanish, it means delicate, like something that's very delicated, right? But delicado was translated into, or I guess, borrowed into Cebuano, or shifted in its shift or word as dangerous. So delicado means dangerous in Cebuano, but in Spanish it means delicated or delicate. That's crazy too, but it's delicado in Spanish. Delicado. In Cebuano is delicado. Okay. The next one is la mesa, and this one was funny because the article, the indefinite article, I think it's the indefinite or definite. I don't know, whatever article that was. The article, the feminine article, got time capsuled in mesa, so it's like la mesa. The whole thing it means table. But in Spanish, la mesa means the table. Just not table, but the table. The table. And then that's just one weird example, right? Another classic time capsule example wherein whatever was borrowed in Spanish came into Cebuano and it just froze in time that way. That was just frozen in time was a la una. So when we're telling time, right, the first number is uno in the Spanish system. It's uno. But because time is feminine, or the concept of the hours and time is feminine, uno gets changed to una, right? So we never say a la uno, no, or actually it's supposed to be al uno, but a la uno we never say it. It's always the borrowed feminine form, a la una, and it was just frozen in time, capsuled that way, right? And it's also weird too because a la in Spanish is supposed to be two separate words. We have a preposition and the article, the feminine article, plus una, but in Cebuano we combine it to a la as just one word, a la una. It's 1 o'clock, Unsay oras na? Oh, ala una na. So what time is it now? Oh, it's 1 o'clock now, right? Ala una. You never will have uno. This is the only time that in Cebuano you have una, right? As the feminine for the number one. Everything else is uno. This is another classic example too, the plurals. So this happens a lot with nouns that get borrowed into Cebuano from Spanish. Usually if it's a plural noun, it's just going to be a singular noun in Cebuano. So if it came from Spanish that's plural, it's going to be most likely going to be a singular noun in Cebuano. Now there are exceptions to this. For example, papel is paper from Spanish to Cebuano, but papeles also exist in Cebuano as a plural form. So there are exceptions. I just don't know what all the exceptions are, but they do exist. But this is just your generic, most commonly, I guess situation or yeah, situation where um, the plurals just mean a singular thing in Cebuano. So manzanas in Spanish, manzanas actually means apples, but in Cebuano, manzanas just means one apple. Because remember, in Cebuano, if we want to make something plural, you have to have the manga in it, right? Peras just means one pear, but in Spanish, it means a lot more than one pair, like peras, right? And last one for this example is hormigas. So hormiga in Spanish means ant, but hormigas in Cebuano means ant, just one ant, right? Um, and the thing too with the L and the R, the and the R and the la, right? The or, right? Hormigas, they're very similar, and that's what I mean. Like back in the day when people actually spoke Cebuano well, not with the rolling or not with the retroflex sound, but with the rolling R sound, you can hear that there was a confusion of a la and a ra, right? Hormigas. But even the R form of hormigas exists in Cebuano as well. And the last two, so this one's a really good example of semantic shift where the meaning changed from one language to another, right? Casillas. Okay, casillas just means some sort of like box or a cubicle or some sort of like stowage, like a box kind of. Think of like a box, a storage, right? And it means baño, but baño also exists too in Cebuano. So, and I'll talk about that later. Cubeta means bucket, but our word for bucket is balde, right? Now, all of these are Spanish words. All four of these, casillas, baño, cubeta, balde, they all exist in Spanish. It's just that when the Spanish language was undergoing some changes, and when the Cebuano language was also undergoing some changes, you have to understand that the semantic shift here became more serious. So people knew what casillas was in Spanish, but it got borrowed into as like an outhouse or something like that in Cebuano, right? So it's no longer this meaning of box in Spanish, but like a toilet or a toilet room, like a little outhouse. Cubeta is a bucket, so in Spanish, but cubeta was borrowed into Cebuano as a toilet or some sort of comfort room, restroom, bathroom, whatever you want to say, a toilet, right? A toilet room, water closet, whatever country you're from, right? They both mean baño. Now, because the Spanish language was also changing during that time as well, the modern word for baño exists in Cebuano as well. So we can also say baño, which literally means like restroom or toilet room or bathroom, whatever, right? Baño, a room with a toilet in it, right? Where you can go do whatever your business is. Um, in Cebuano, we don't use cubeta to mean a bucket. We use balde, and balde is actually the Spanish word for bucket as well. So you can see how there's just this history of changing the semantic shift, and that's also a contributing reason why Cebuano has so many synonyms for one word. Right? We have just look at this. If you want to say I need to go to use the toilet room, right? You can say cubeta, casillas, or baño. 3 ways you can say it. So yeah, there's that. There's also the indigenous Cebuano way you can say things. So that's just ways that the Cebuano language was just enriched with vocabulary. Just like lingkuranan and silya, they both mean chair. They're just two words that mean the same thing in the Cebuano language, albeit silya is probably not as commonly used. It still exists in the language. Okay, and the last example is kumusta. This one's a funny one because kumusta in Spanish always is a question, whereas in Cebuano, kumusta can either be a statement or a question, right? So, because in Spanish, you have como, right? So, como, and that starts a question. Whereas in Cebuano, you can use this as hello, hi, a greeting, greetings, kumusta, hello, right? Or you can use it as a question as well to ask how something or somebody is. Kumusta, right? How are you? Kumusta si blah blah blah? Kumusta ang blah blah blah? How is the blah blah blah? You know, how is your brother? How is the weather? So you can ask questions like that. Whereas in Spanish, it's always and always going to be a question, right? Kumusta, right? And you expect an answer. ¿Cómo está, right? ¿Cómo está versus kumusta. So that's just something with a semantic shift. And hopefully it can just give you a better idea in your learning the Cebuano language, because things get crazy, especially when a language starts to borrow a lot of things and changing their meaning. That's the beauty of it.